You won't believe what just happened on my own property. I was standing next to my pool, having a peaceful morning, when suddenly a stranger I'd never met before strode onto my property and called the police on me. Yep, right there on my dock, along my shoreline. And the craziest thing, she wasn't even where she was supposed to be. Let me roll back a bit. This tale doesn't begin with sirens. It begins with sunlight. It was a quiet Saturday morning. The lake glimmered in the sunrise, and I was walking my dog along the water, something I've done 100 times. This property has been in my family for generations. We don't just live along the lake. We own the dock, the pool, and yes, even the shoreline. That sort of ownership is unheard of around here, but I have the papers to prove every square inch of it. But peace doesn't endure when entitlement comes knocking. As I finished inspecting the solar pumps by the dock, I saw someone by the pool. I thought maybe it was a contractor or a nice neighbor. Nope. It was a woman I'd never met before, dressed in yoga pants, a sun visor, and that unmistakable glare of someone who believes the world reports to her. What she then said? Unreal. "Excuse me," she snapped, arms folded. "What do you think you're doing here?" I blinked. Uh, I live here?" Apparently that wasn't sufficient. She scoffed and doubled down. "I've lived here for 15 years. I know who belongs, and I've never seen you before." You could feel the pivot. This wasn't confusion. It was accusation. She sashayed over to the pool, heels clicking on the pavers, as if she were surveying her kingdom. I explained calmly that this was private property, not included in the HOA. I even invited her to see the deed on my phone, but she had already decided, and it was going to get ugly. "Nope," she barked. "All the lakefront property is in the HOA. That pool and dock? Shared amenities. You can't just call it your own." That's when I realized something. She wasn't just entitled, she was an HOA Karen, the type who believes closeness equates to ownership. And before I could even get out my papers, she whipped out her phone. "You have 10 seconds to leave," she threatened. I stood there shocked. "You're trespassing. You need to go." So she did what Karens are best at, called 911, right in front of me. Yes, there's a man trespassing at the community pool. He's being aggressive. I feel threatened. Threatened? I hadn't even raised my voice once. But the damage was done. A loan officer came over and asked me for ID. I handed it over and walked him through it all, peacefully and simply. "This is my property. I have the deed, taxes, survey, all right here in my phone." The moment of truth. I opened up the folder and produced everything. The papers laid it out. This was private property. Not HOA, not public, just me. The second officer sauntered over to Karen. "Do you have any evidence showing this is HOA property?" he inquired. Her bravado dissolved. "Well, no, but it's always been available to the neighborhood." And just like that, her case was destroyed. "Unless the HOA has legal rights or easements, this isn't community property," the officer answered. "I've seen people using it," she snapped at him. "Probably because I invited them," I added. "Which I do, not to trespassers." She was seething now, face red, lips pursed. The officers offered her one last concession: leave or be issued a trespassing citation. She made the wrong choice. They issued her a citation on the spot as she stormed away, grumbling about new money ruining the neighborhood. And after it was all over, one of the officers turned to me and asked, "Does this sort of thing happen often?" I huffed. "More than it should. Some individuals believe if they can see it, they own it." I sat there after the police departed, gazing at the peaceful waves rolling across the lake. It was difficult to understand what had occurred. I mean, how does one walk onto soil that most definitely is not their own and call the police on the owner? My family has owned this land for generations. I have the deed, the survey, even a recent boundary report when my parents passed it down to me. It's all mine, every inch of that shoreline. But for some reason, this woman decided she could just take it, like it was a community park. You'd have thought that was the end of it. You'd be mistaken. 2 days later, I received something in my mailbox, a letter from the HOA. The twist? I'm not even a member of the HOA. My property lies entirely outside the subdivision. No dues, no contracts, no authority. And yet this letter, written in Comic Sans of all fonts, had the nerve to say, "We are officially asking you to take down the fence around your pool because it appears to be an exclusive setup and restricts access to common amenities." I laughed so hard I almost dropped it in the lake. No letterhead, no signature, nothing. Just a frivolous request disguised as a formal notice. But humorous as it was also illegal. So I had my attorney call to affirm what I already knew. They had zero power. None. I answered back with a friendly but stern letter of my own. This is private property and not subject to any HOA rules. Further contact or harassment will be met with legal action. I believe that would finally leave them alone. But when entitlement loses power, it doesn't retreat. It becomes more vocal. Shortly thereafter, she went to social media. Posts began appearing in the local Facebook group. She branded me the pool hoarder, dock dictator, and accused me of stealing community resources. I wouldn't have even been aware of it if a nice neighbor hadn't sent me screenshots, and that's when I made a decision. Silence wasn't going to be enough anymore. I took out my phone and recorded a complete video tour of the property. I pointed out the official survey pins, read verbatim from the deed, and gave the entire history of how this land became mine. I captioned the video, "Setting the record straight, my property, my rights," and I published it online. It blew up. In a matter of hours, it was being passed around the entire neighborhood. And not only because of me, because people were ready. As it turns out, I wasn't alone in being sick of her behavior. Residents started sharing their own tales. How she left passive-aggressive notes about parking, complained about someone for the wrong color of mulch, and even attempted to prevent a dad from allowing his children to use sidewalk chalk on their own property. It was like a dam burst. All of a sudden, I wasn't just the lake house guy. I was the guy who finally stood up. Strangers stopped me at the grocery store. "Hey, I saw your video. Good for you, man." Finally, the HOA board had to intervene. They issued a public statement. She spoke not for them. They had no right to my property. She was stripped of her self-appointed community coordinator position, and the Facebook group excommunicated her for disseminating false information. You might expect that would be that. It wasn't. But the game had changed. She still walks by my house sometimes with her dog, shooting me that same nasty look. But I just grin and wave anyway, because this is what she doesn't know. When you stand up and hold up a light for the truth, bullies are defanged, and bullies hate the truth most of all. So the next time someone lets you know that you don't belong, just tell them to make it happen. Remain polite. Be a goo.